A man walks into a private members club in Manhattan wearing a watch nobody in the room recognizes. Not the Rolex guy at the bar, not the Patek collector by the fireplace, not the Audemars guy holding court in the corner. None of them can identify what's on his wrist. And here's the part that matters. They keep glancing at it anyway, trying to figure it out, trying to place it, trying to remember if they've seen it in a magazine. They haven't, because the watch on his wrist wasn't made for magazines. It wasn't made for wait lists. It wasn't made for boutique storefronts on Madison Avenue. It was made by hand in a workshop most watch collectors have never heard of, in a town most Americans have never visited, for a group of buyers who don't want anyone to know what they own. Old money wears these watches on purpose. New money can't identify a single one of them. By the end of this video, you'll know all of them. And you'll understand why the men who actually have money stopped wearing what the rest of the world thinks money looks like. Let me show you. Number 5. A. Lange Söhne. The German watch house that was destroyed by the Soviet Army in 1948 and rebuilt from nothing 42 years later. Founded in 1845 in Glashütte, a town in eastern Germany that produced watches for over 100 years before Switzerland took the industry crown. In 1948, the Soviets seized the factory. Every machine, every design, every unfinished piece. The Lange family was told the business was over. In December 1990, 4 days after the Berlin Wall fell, Walter Lange, the great-grandson of the founder, walked back into the town and started rebuilding. Today, Lange produces watches by hand in the same building. Every movement is engraved. Every screw is thermally blued. Every gear train is polished under microscopes by watchmakers who spend 3 to 6 months on a single piece. The Saxonia Thin is the entry point. Gold or platinum case, manual wind. Retail, between $15,000 and $25,000. That's more expensive than most Rolexes. That's exactly the point. Old money doesn't compete with the Rolex crowd. They operate in a category the Rolex wearer doesn't know exists. A Saxonia Thin on a wrist at a dinner in Zurich or Geneva makes the room go quiet. The Rolex guy across the table doesn't know why. The Patek guy at the next table does. That's the difference. And old money bought this watch because they wanted to be recognized by exactly one type of person in the room. Not the general audience. The person who reads spec sheets. Number 4. F.P. Journe. François-Paul Journe, independent Swiss watchmaker, founded his own house in Geneva in 1999. Every serious collector on earth knows this name. The general public has never heard it. That gap is exactly why old money buys F.P. Journe. The workshop produces roughly 900 watches per year, across all lines combined. That's less than 3 watches per day for the entire brand. The wait list for existing clients is measured in years. New buyers cannot even join the list at most authorized dealers. The chronometer blue is the iconic piece. Tantalum case, a rare metal so difficult to machine that most Swiss brands refuse to work with it. Deep blue dial with hand-applied indices. In-house movement finished to Geneva Seal standards. Retail between $25,000 and $35,000. Secondary market prices routinely double or triple retail. When a chronometer blue appears on a wrist at a private dinner, one specific thing happens. Every serious collector in the room stops what they're doing. The finance guy with the Nautilus notices that other people at the table are looking at that wrist. The AP owner tries to figure out what he's missing. Old money bought F.P. Journe because it lets them be recognized only by the people whose opinion actually matters. Everyone else sees a nice watch. The right person sees a legend. Number 3. Vacheron Constantin. The oldest continuously operating watch manufacturer on Earth. Founded in Geneva in 1755. 270 years of unbroken watchmaking history. Read that again. Vacheron Constantin has been making watches since 16 years before the United States existed. The patrimony is the brand's dress line. Thin case, Roman numeral dial, hand-finished in-house movement, available in white gold, rose gold, or platinum. Retail, between $20,000 and $50,000 depending on configuration. Vacheron holds the Geneva Seal certification. That's the highest standard of Swiss watchmaking finishing, awarded by the state of Geneva itself. Only 3 brands hold the Geneva Seal across their entire mainline production: Patek Philippe, Roger Dubuis, Vacheron Constantin. Rolex does not qualify. Neither does Audemars Piguet. Neither does Cartier. Old money wears Vacheron because it's the quietest of the big 3 luxury Swiss houses. Patek gets the celebrity attention. AP gets the sports finance crowd. Vacheron gets the men who have been wealthy for 3 generations and don't need anyone to notice. The Rolex wearer at the dinner does not recognize the patrimony. The Patek collector nods and moves on. Old money got exactly what they paid for. Number 2. Philippe Dufour. Swiss, independent. Considered by most serious collectors to be the greatest living watchmaker on earth. Dufour operates alone from a small workshop in the Vallée de Joux, the same valley where Audemars Piguet, Patek Philippe, and Jaeger-LeCoultre have their factories. He has produced fewer than 200 watches in his entire career. Every finishing technique on a Dufour watch is executed by hand, by Dufour. Personally, no apprentices, no assistants, no production team. The simplicity is his most accessible piece. Originally released around 2000 at $40,000, the current secondary market price on a simplicity sits around $400,000, a tenfold appreciation in 25 years. Old money owns Philippe Dufour watches because they represent the last generation of watchmakers who did every single step of the process by hand. When Dufour retires, the craft ends. The watches on wrists today will be the only Dufour watches that ever exist. That's not an investment. That's inheritance planning. At a private dinner in Geneva, a Dufour on a wrist creates a specific reaction. The Rolex owner has no way to identify what he's looking at. The AP collector might have vague recognition. The Patek collector at the next table stops the conversation and walks over. That's what old money paid for. Recognition from exactly one type of person. Number 1. The Patek Philippe Calatrava. Reference 6119. Not the Nautilus, not the Aquanaut, not the sports references every finance bro tries to buy at Musrup and gets denied on the boutique waitlist. The Calatrava, the dress watch Patek Philippe has been making, in some form, continuously since 1932. The reference 6119 is the modern version. 39mm case, manual wind, hobnail bezel, the same Clou de Paris texture Patek has used for over 90 years. In-house movement, solid gold or platinum case, retail between $35,000 and $50,000. The Calatrava is the watch Patek Philippe was founded on. It's the watch every Patek collector on earth agrees is the truest expression of what Patek Philippe means as a brand. The Nautilus is the famous one. The Aquanaut is the trendy one. The Calatrava is the real one. Every man who chased a Nautilus for 3 years and paid a 50% premium on the gray market is wearing a Patek, but he's wearing the version that marketing made famous last year. The man wearing a Calatrava at the same dinner is wearing the version the founders of Patek Philippe would still recognize as their brand. Rolex has one iconic watch, the Submariner. Patek has one truly iconic watch, the Calatrava. And in 90-plus years, the Calatrava has never gone out of production. Never been discontinued, never been re-released as a limited edition, because the design was correct in 1932, and it's still correct in 2026. That's what old money wears. Not the watch that hype made famous, the watch that was designed correctly the first time and never needed to be reinvented. The Nautilus wearer wants the room to see his watch. The Calatrava wearer doesn't care whether the room sees it. He knows what he owns. And the 2 other men at the table who also know what he owns, those are the only people whose opinion matters to him. 5 watches, 5 brands. 0 of them advertise on television. 0 of them sponsor sports leagues. 0 of them have a wait list you can call your local jeweler to join. The wait lists for these brands aren't wait lists, they're relationships. Old money doesn't get on a list. Old money gets introduced to the boutique manager by a mutual friend who's been a client for 15 years. The watch comes when the manager decides the buyer is the right kind of client. That's not marketing. That's the market functioning, the way markets functioned before mass advertising existed. Rolex sells roughly 1 million watches per year. The 5 brands on this list combined ship fewer than 30,000. Rolex is a global consumer brand with a marketing budget in the hundreds of millions of dollars. These 5 are private club memberships that happen to include a watch on your wrist. The man wearing a Rolex to a business dinner is signaling that he made it, that he has money, that he wants the room to know. The man wearing a Calatrava, or a Patrimony, or a Chronometra Blue, or a Saxonia Thin, or a Dufour is signaling something the Rolex wearer doesn't understand. He's signaling that he stopped needing to signal. Rolex is the watch of new money. These 5 are the watches of old money. And once you understand the difference, you understand why the wealthiest men on earth quietly stopped wearing what the general public thinks wealth looks like. Old money doesn't chase the watch the crowd recognizes. Old money wears the watch the crowd can't identify, because the crowd's recognition was never the point. Comment the watch on your wrist right now. We'll tell you whether you're wearing what new money buys or what old money quietly owns. Subscribe. Next video coming soon. Some men chase watches. Old money became the reason certain watches even exist.